I hope you enjoy this intro because it's probably going to get copyrighted. But
No
yeah.
way. You guys shared a connection. It totally makes sense you miss him sometimes.
Not just sometimes, all the time. It's just that things ended so suddenly between us. You used to be a part of me, but then you weren't, and we had to face each other in a duel. A duel to determine whether I was ready to stand on my own. And when I defeated you, you left us. You left me. Forever. I know it was for the best, but I wish I just had one more chance to let him know what he meant to me. But destiny had different plans for us.
And that's kind of the purpose of this entire podcast just going down the legacy of Kazuki Takahashi and just paying our respects to one of the most influential authors in manga history and a great part of all of our like childhoods and even now as we go through like the progression tournament here on the channel and just it feels better to pay our respects this way than like a traditional video or whatever kind of content everybody else is doing because arguably here in the moment we have a legacy to honor and not turn into like a huge milk fest of like 17 videos like most anti-tubers will do. So to me, like the biggest portion for like Yu-Gi-Oh is I used to be really good at the game. If you watch me duel here on the channel, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing anymore. I'm just going with emotions. But I used to go to a place called Bambino's where it was close to where I grew up. It was my local like tournament joint for the longest time. I remember like dragging friends from school and just kind of trying to turn this into this like weekly get together for all of us that used to play in the lunchroom, and that's where I got like my wonderful little shirt I found while I was cleaning here, like tournament champion for the hobby league before it was a hobby league, and going through like tag duels with my dad because he would try to insert himself into everything that I was doing, and just playing heroes for the longest time, playing in the Exodia deck too, until that got stolen because every tournament league had one of those kind of like, oh, your deck is winning a lot, I'm going to take that. But that's kind of like where my journey was. It's like a lot older because I grew up in the era where like the first like starter decks were coming out. I know a lot of our viewers skew a little younger on the demographic, so I'm sure not a lot of you remember that. But like the Yugi and Kaiba original deck, I got the Kaiba deck, my buddy got the Yugi deck, and we would just duel in the front yard. It's very interesting to see how much this game has kind of progressed and how much it's turned into this cult phenomenon because it was from an era where you thought like Pokemon was going to be the only thing that would survive because every trading card game that would come out would just die almost instantly because it couldn't match up with the popularity of that. Anybody remember Duel Masters?
Vaguely.
Or
Yeah.
Chaotic?
I
Those.
actually prefer because it actually had like a really good like gameplay. Like overall, it was solid. I have no idea why it didn't kick off.
Yeah, it was one of those that it was just kind of there and then gone. It had an anime, it had merch, and then it died. And it was the same with Chaotic. I love the idea behind Chaotic, especially entering it into like it was kind of like DLC before DLC, except for you owned the toy. Because you would enter your card into the website, it would just give you a digital copy of that, and you could play online and you could play at home. It was a really cool concept, and it all worked within the lore of the show. And then I kind of just fell into whatever obscurity that those games went into. And then now, in the era of social media, there's a TikToker that's going around to like various card shops and just buying up all the chaotic cards that they have, which I find absolutely hilarious because it's a game that nobody even plays anymore. But he was such a big fan of it that he's just doing it. But like Yu-Gi-Oh was the one that had the staying power. Other than like Magic the Gathering, because that's like boomer card mentality. Like it will be here when hell freezes over. I like no joke. I don't think that game will ever fucking die. But
To be honest, go ahead.
but like this was the one that really took off, especially like cross demographically. Like you go into like your tournament scene even now. Like you have your kids, and then you have like adults. It doesn't really have like that age limit where it like feels like Pokemon is specifically, at least like the card game is skewed more towards kids, and then more adults just collect them because they grew up with them. And then Magic the Gathering really has that, like, you got to have a really good like reading comprehension, you got to have a really good understanding of the meta to get anywhere in that kind of game, so it skews a little bit older. But this was the one that was about forming friendships and just kind of going into this massive multimedia franchise that is today. I'm glad it's
Yeah.
had the staying power it did.
Yeah. And I think the reason why it has the staying power is basically the reason why you said it. You said it then, because it's it gears itself towards kids and adults alike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I'm very open to like this platform that we have here because it allows a lot of the discussion for what really made it stick in media, though, because we've really gotten to the point, at least with our audience, the way that it is, that it's not just geared towards like the going ons of today, because the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga has been done for a very, very long time at this point. And it's been reprinted and reprinted and reprinted, yet it still seems to be the one that is the most cherished, right? You have people that really like GX in the anime, right? But the manga itself is so vastly different. You have 5Ds where they're like two entire separate entities, and they really didn't have those. And I kind of like it too, because it allows two very different stories to be told on different medias. Because you have one of the darkest Yu-Gi-Oh stories in 5Ds, right? In the anime, there's a
second darkest, but yeah,
I haven't really consumed a lot of like V-Rains or like sevens or any of that, and something I'm going through and doing currently.
Yeah, with sevens, it's I've dibbed and dabbed in and out of it over its run, and it is very much more light-hearted, kid friendly Yu-Gi-Oh series than some of the other ones. I mean,
Mhm.
it's still enjoyable, but it's it's kind of like I'm just trying to think how best. It's kind of like the Lightspeed Rescue of Yu-Gi-Oh series, to use a Power Rangers analysis.
Interesting. So, yeah, I you saw like the art style for it, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. And I saw it was a different studio doing it. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. It's a different studio. It's going to have a different purpose. It's going to have, and it seems like it specifically is meant to push merch because it really incorporates like the rush duels and stuff like that into it. And lo and behold, we have like the Speed Duels card game coming out right around the same time that the anime was getting first announced. And I'm like, oh, that's what it was. It was meant to sell that. It was meant to push
but
toys.
but the weird thing is like that's a completely different
Mm.
like format. Like that's the Rush format, and it's completely different from Speed Duel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
So I wonder why they didn't like make anime for like both formats.
it might have been too time consuming.
It could have been.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
but
But for like a company like Konami here in the US, like they have the time and they have the assets to do something like that, especially as money hungry as that company is.
Right, what are they gonna do?
Yeah.
Just spend it on like 10 more pachinko machines?
Right?
Yeah.
Next up, King of Games Edition. It's a fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Pachinko machine.
I'm shocked they haven't done that already. And they haven't. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh's their cherished baby that they don't
Right?
hurt.
It's like, no, we gotta protect this image in particular because it's a money printer. Oh, Jesus fuck. But, you know, they'll make 17 different Metal Gear Solid ones. That's fine.
Yeah, for some reason. But I will say this as well. I feel like one of the major reasons why Yu-Gi-Oh has had the lasting staying power is because Konami, like particularly the card game, Konami knows when to take advantage of a situation. Because if you really think about it, Master Duel pretty much came out during the pandemic when nobody could really go anywhere. So it made people like, oh, okay, we can still play the card game, but without actually having to endanger ourselves.
And they've made a really, really easy to adapt to whatever format they wanted, because even for like the hobby leagues, because I still have friends that participate in tournaments and they go all over to like YCS and shit, and I'm just over here like, well, how, you know, it's one of my first questions, like when all the card game or the card shops were like closing up because of the pandemic. I'm like, well, how's that going to affect your rank? How's that going to affect like your progress? Because I know some of them are like in gear to go to YCS, and then like all that shit happened, and they adapted to like virtual dueling, you know, and it worked for the most part. Obviously, like it didn't really have the same power as like in-person tournaments, because there's just something different about being across from your opponent wanting to rip their hands apart because they keep beating you down, versus, you know, I'm over Zoom basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
pretty much.
like those types of things, like they've been really good at adapting to the meta, and it almost feels like they know when their audience starts to get fed up, and then they release a new pack or they change the meta with a ban list. Because like having been in like the physical tournament scene, like that's kind of like when the player count would start to dwindle at the locals is when a new format would come out or a new pack or something to shake the meta up. They've got that shit like down to a science, and it just keeps the players like coming back for more.
Yeah, it does, and also as well, it keeps like the same people being number one. Like, do you remember the Toad the frogs
God.
strategy that took the Yu-Gi-Oh championship, and then immediately like, oh, we're gonna ban Seismitoad.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
Frogs have been coming back into the meta so many times.
toads never die. Like that meta will forever exist in some capacity, because those, it's one of the most milked, you know, archetypes in a way. Like you have a new toad seemingly every couple sets to kind of just like work it in. And it's the same way with like heroes now. Because even as a heroes player, like none of these existed whatsoever in the manga, in the fucking anime. It's just like you're shitting them out to capitalize on fans of that format, that fucking archetype, and you're just like, I loved it when it was like you had the Master Heroes, the Vision Heroes, you had like fucking Elemental Heroes, you had Neospatians. All those existed in some format of the series, be it the manga or the anime, and all the cards got printed, you know. But shit, everything that they've come up with now has not really existed. It's all like original stuff, which is cool, but it's also
Phoenix Enforcer existed.
Yeah, true. But like it's very kind of predatory on people that are fans of those, you know. Uh but
I would like for them to do that with other like cards that aren't really popular, ones not named Blue Eyes or Dark Magician.
or you know,
Or
here's
Hero.
yeah, or here's another fucking dino.
Yeah.
even the dinos are getting shit on recently, and the fucking pyros. Like, there hasn't been a new pyro card in like 5 years, apparently.
They released one like a while back, but it's not that many.
It's ridiculous. Like, there are cards that really need to be like shaken up for that kind of aspect, but
Need more pyro and fish. Come on, and reptile.
We need more.
I want a good reptile deck so I can abuse like Snake Rain. Come on.
No, we need a good. We need like some more crystal beasts.
We're
I
getting
mean,
that.
yeah.
Too.
God.
Like they only have like the 7, because I get the meaning behind it, like rainbow dragon, so you already have like 7 colors, but there's more
No, you're
than
getting the original. You're getting the original ones, and plus, in the next coming structure deck, we're getting the advanced crystal beast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, because there are more than 7 crystal, like more than 7 like crystal like gems or whatever out there.
And plus, I wish like rainbow, like the rainbow dragons that they would print would actually like help like the strategy, because it's like, oh, we're gonna make rainbow dragon, and then what? You know what? Forget summoning rainbow dragon. Let's summon rainbow neos instead, because it's our better boss monster.
I hate how accurate that is.
Yeah. It's like when people think that Gate Guardian actually has the same effects as it does in the anime, and then when you actually look at it, it's like actually
it's
this
dog
is
shit.
Yeah.
It's just a useless vanilla beater that needs like 3 monsters that all need like 2 tribute summons each. It's so bad.
I jokingly ran a fucking anime deck for a while just to kind of be, different, because I got so tired of saying like, well, it was during like the era of like a Reticule meta, and you had fucking it was paired at my locals anyway with fucking Yubel shit.
Oh god.
Yubel?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I've never. This is new to me.
It worked surprisingly well for that era too, and I hated it.
Fex, you've just given me an idea.
Oh god.
When we finish the progression series, we
in
should
10 years.
in 10 years, we should do another tournament style, except we all pick a character deck from the anime to use.
Well, I'll be basic bitch Jaden, because that's what I ran for years.
No, what I mean is like from each era. So we go from the Yu-Gi-Oh. So like we go from Judas Kingdom, then we do Battle City, and then we do like the GX era, and then the 5Ds era, and so on.
Okay, so
if we're doing the GX era, I'm playing Alexis Jet.
Fuck yeah.
Playing the Cyber Angels.
God, I'm so glad that those are finally getting released. Like, that was such a unique deck, even for a fucking anime. Like, that worked so well, because it fit right into her personality. Everything about GX I love to bits, because it all made fucking sense, except for the science fiction behind it.
The part that I'm like super confused about Cyber Angels is like Drytron using like Cyber Angels as steroids to boost their deck.
God. No, but like the other deck that really went around like that same fucking meta is like just everybody would run goddamn Neospatians, and I just hated it because it was when Grand Mole was unlimited, so you had 3 fuckers just bouncing your entire
Oh god.
It's like, and Grand Mole, and Grand Mole, and Grand Mole. I'm like, this isn't fun. Let me make this fun again. And I just ran around with like I called it my Crash Bandicoot deck, but it was just really an anime style beat 'em up deck all around beasts. It was basically Chun-Li's deck.
Yeah, but that's what I love about Yu-Gi-Oh! There is no card game on the planet like it at all.
Yeah, definitely.
fast it is, how slow, like the tempo. You can make it as fast as you want. You can make it as slow as you want, depending on the format.
And
And
I was just gonna say quickly, and nowhere is that more evident than Yugi versus Kaiba Battle C that goes on for 6 episodes.
God.
right, and they wouldn't let them go to 8,000 like life points, and the duels feel like they like done that.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that duel, and then you get super anime, super like slow but like fast paced. You get that mid game really well, like Bonds Beyond Time. It's
Or like Duelist Kingdom's like weird rules in which like if certain effect cards like wipe the field, you lose like life points equal to like half
Well,
like half of the monster's attack or
to
something.
be fair, that was before the card game even came out.
yeah.
I know it is, but I just feel like that's
I
this is a
activate my
really weird
field
format.
bonus.
I play Castle of Dark Illusion so that my field is completely encased in shadow, so you can't see my monsters.
Well, I could still see your field because you know we.
They're holograms.
No, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. They're not holograms. They're magic.
Oh,
Whatever
we're getting
it
sued by.
is.
Oh no, we're getting sued by Magic again. No.
No, we gotta change the cards to spell cards. That's why we got Spagic Ruler.
Also, I find it ironic, like around that same time they were suing like Yu-Gi-Oh for like Magic cards. I figured out they also sold cards called trap cards.
Right, and also like just the lawsuits in of itself for Magic the Gathering when like they had to fucking face battles with artists that have made shit for him too. It was all like a really hypocritical era for card games. Oh.
You know, the trailer for Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged Movie that little Karibo did, now that you've just mentioned that, when he goes, in a world where cards games scenes dictate the fate of mankind, that rings true when you say that with the whole suing thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's like if Disney sued another fucking company for just using a word, a literal fucking word.
And Ann Arbor's joined the party.
Ah, yes, yes, yes. Welcome, Ann Arbor. A little late to the game, but you're here now.
I'm late. I'm sorry. I had to take drugs.
Yeah. I have not been sort of medicating this entire podcast.
Perfect. Perfect.
But like, I don't know, like that's such a real like thing though in these card games. Like, when you get to the anime, like you have seemingly your own playground for it. You can dictate like rule changes. You can do all this fun stuff with it. But it never really rang true like Yu-Gi-Oh. Like every game, every season had its own like rule. Every season made itself feel super unique, and the fun one for me was like kids having duels on bikes. It was so stupid. Like it's not something by any stretch of the imagination you would see. Like I remember when they announced it, I'm thinking reading the back of Shonen fucking Jump when it was a print magazine here. Like, oh, how are they going to incorporate this into the game? Obviously, they're not going to give us all like a motorcycle to duel on. That was my dumb like teenage brain. Like, how is this rule going to affect the game?
And yet, ironically, it's considered the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Series.
Right. But like when you think about the logic there, it's so fucking stupid. Like
it's so stupid, but there is a reason behind it in the series itself.
Right.
Yes, it's incredibly stupid.
Who needs logic if you have fun?
But think about like from our perspective where we're taught like don't drive distracted. There's nothing more fucking distracting than trying to do math while playing a card game while also like trying to not crash. You know,
and try not to have someone take your soul directly to hell.
Right.
But speaking of that, this image.
Oh God.
But this gets me into but this gets me into a little bit of a rant, more so on what we were saying before the podcast
Oh god,
about gatekeeping, and
yeah.
not just gatekeeping for the sense of like you're not a real fan if you don't know the names of every single signer dragon. It's more so the hypocritical gatekeeping fan where it's like, how dare you make a spin-off series of this series? Can't you just let it die? But then when it comes to your series that you like and you're obsessed with, oh, I want more of it.
Me.
Case in point, for Netherworld and Dragon Ball, how he criticized Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 and Yu-Gi-Oh! Friends, and yet he still wants more Dragon Ball.
Oh god, I really, I wasn't expecting to have this conversation in the podcast, but I agree, right? Like there's a very fine line between like that bandwagoning nature and that gatekeeping nature. And Luke and I had this conversation a bit before everybody joined in and we started filming. Like we tend to get this super gatekeepy push right near tragedy or the end of a series. Like, we don't want anybody else invading this. We don't want anybody else making this mainstream. This was our series before anybody else's. And using my internet voice while trying not to strain myself, but it's not your fucking series. First of all, like you do not have agency over something that somebody else wrote. It's open for anybody to enjoy it, whether you agree with them on any level whatsoever. I know I sound very, very hypocritical after the fucking TikTok I made yesterday. But you also have that bandwagoning nature too, where like everybody's trying to pile on now. And we saw it recently when Miura died and everybody like getting super into Berserk, because now it's never going to be finished was the logic behind that one. And they wanted to experience the journey. I don't think of a greater blue balls than a series that's never going to end. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, that drives me crazy. But sometimes you can't like the person dies. Like, what are you gonna do? Like at that point, it's just
right.
like, well, that's it. But
yeah, but like with Berserk, like it's a cultural phenomenon, right? Like I can understand the desire to want to see what made it so popular, and I don't want to prevent somebody as a fan of that from stepping into that fandom, but I also see the very, very real nature of the wanting to experience it just to experience it because they've passed, and now you're seeing it with Yu-Gi-Oh. People that had never even remotely been interested in it and never really been, drawn to it, or even people have bullied people for playing Yu-Gi-Oh, diving into it. And part of me is like, I don't want that toxicity associated with the fandom, but I also am like, I do not have agency over this fandom. I do not want to prevent anybody from experiencing something that might change their point of view or might change their perspective on a entire fucking genre of manga. Because at the end of the day, this spun out into a genre of manga, to a genre of anime, where you have like all these card games, and even the editor and that kind of helped with like Yu-Gi-Oh! R went on to create Vanguard. I had no idea about that until I saw it.
Really?
Until I saw it tweeted by one of the Kazuki Takahashi fan accounts, and I'm like, that makes sense because they would have learned, how to create a successful manga that has that toy aspect in it by working on something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Because Vanguard is now one of those franchises that has a lot of staying power. I don't know a damn thing about it. I know it has like 17 different anime on fucking Crunchyroll though. So it's
good.
doing something right, But like that's something that shocked me. I'm like, I don't want to prevent like people from getting into it, but I really don't like the people that are getting into something just for the sake of saying they experienced it.
Yeah.
That's the part of me that's very, very torn on that, because I was raised with a very punk nature. That's why like a lot of my music taste still revolves around that sphere of like either punk or metal, because that's kind of how I grew up with. And that the culture for that is don't gatekeep. Don't don't fucking prevent people from enjoying something just because, even if you do not like that person, even if you fucking despise that person, it is not your job to prevent them from enjoying it. And I've taken that nature into my adulthood, even as I slowly drift away from like the subsects that I would used to, hang out with, like go to every fucking crust punk show downtown here. I don't have time for that anymore as an adult. So even as I drift, that's a part of me, that part of my moral character that I want to like take with me, because it's something that extends to every aspect of life. No matter if you like somebody, you don't want to prevent them from experiencing it. And I think that's something a lot of anime fans really need to learn, that this is a media that is fucking universal. It doesn't matter if you're insert race here, insert sexuality here, insert, part of life you're in. This is something for everybody. And Yu-Gi-Oh embodies that 100%. It's one of the most like friend-oriented series out there. It tried to be that side of Pokemon where like the entire purpose is going on a journey, making friends, going a little bit darker at times, obviously, but that was the core aspect of it, and especially like the first series,
Yeah, definitely. And also as well, it's like um I think one of the other major appeals for Yu-Gi-Oh is that it is pretty much it does have very each series has very distinct genres. Like the first one is definitely more, I'd say, coming of age story, but with a fantasy element to it.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, the second series GX, that's more slice of life. But with
And it had that
the
school aspect in
aspects,
there, and then
yeah, and
like
then 5D,
corruption.
yeah, and then 5Ds is more science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it has a very varying degree of genres that people can get into as well.
And V-Rains, like, well, Zexal to V-Rains went really deep into like sci-fi territory. You had fucking aliens, you had
Yeah,
everything, and then you had like alternate dimensions.
yeah, you do, and also as well, you have like varying levels of maturity from the cast of characters,
Mm-hmm.
like from whether or not it's like
The kids from
ch-
Arc V
uh, uh,
or the
I was
main
gonna,
characters.
I was gonna say like the child character from Sevens, to like the teenager in Jaden, to basically the adult in Yusei, because Yusei starts off as 18, so he's technically an adult.
Well, I mean, he kind of had to work that into the plot because he was technically also in prison.
Yeah,
So I believe here was dubbed. It's been a long time since I watched 5Ds. I believe here was dubbed as he was in a juvenile detention facility.
yeah, he was. But you can't. But yeah, they can sugarcoat it all they want for kids. But Yusei was an adult. He was in prison.
Exactly. Well, I mean, it would also make sense if, like, at least from a more American perspective. I know things are different in Japan and things are different here, in like the UK for you guys, or the EU in general. But like, they would transport like an adult prisoner to prison to serve out the rest of their sentence if they were convicted as youth. Um, Me channeling having corrections officer background from my parents there. Yay. But that's kind of like how they would handle that plot wise if he would have been an adult. But considering that 18 is still technically classified as a minor in some aspects, they got away with the
Okay.
dubbing. Yeah. But you can very much be tried as an adult at fucking any age. It's just like how they handle moving you from facility to facility. And that's very much like one of the darkest stories in Yu-Gi-Oh! On every level, because you have like the gang war in it. You have fucking the political corruption of everybody that was in charge of the tournaments there. You had, the cover up for like the energy explosion. You have all sorts of varying dark, and then you have like world domination as well. So like that one really pushed the bar for characters for sure. Um, but I think like the way they've managed best in characters, and it might just be me, is like having that slice of life element in GX because it felt like real school life. It felt very much like this is what would go on in a private school, specifically for dueling in this case. But it managed to fit that teenage naivete, and it also managed to very much dive into that young love too between like Alexis and Jaden. That like I don't want to say anything kind of aspect. It felt really real.
Yeah, yeah, and also as well, like we make fun about about Kaiba having a school to teach about card games, but
And also making sure that his rival's card was the lowest rank.
yeah, but
Well, it makes sense that it makes a school about dueling.
yeah, I was just gonna say, like we have schools in the real world that are specifically set up for one aspect.
Yep.
Yeah,
That
and
and,
if
like-
you look at the Yu-Gi-Oh
Mhm.
world, card games are so fucking dangerous in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
Like, look at Marek. So, of course, you want to have a lot of good duelists in the school to learn and improve themselves to save the world.
Yeah.
Too bad Jaden wasn't the best student.
No, he got turned into like a Dark King and then tried to like take over the world and yeah.
And then
And committed war crimes.
and then merged his spirit with an androgynous demon.
I forgot he technically did really commit fucking war crimes as the Dark Emperor. Holy shit.
Merged with a dark demon that was in love with him.
I mean, could you blame, look at you, Belle, okay?
You know, I've just realized something.
I definitely don't have a type.
I have literally just realized something. It wouldn't surprise me if Fujimoto partly based Makima on Yubel, considering how controlling Yubel is.
You know, he's the right age to have grown up with it too, because he's much younger than myself.
Yeah, he's apparently he's 29, 27.
No, he's not that much. He's not that much.
He's not that much.
He's not
He's
that
not
much
that much younger than us.
No, I thought he was younger than that, but shit, he could have very much grew up in that era and just been like, oh, I want to make a character like that. Obviously, this is inferring like absolute horseshit. We have no sources for any of this, but that would make sense.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise. Considering Yubel's a demon and she's controlling and manipulative.
Well, I want Yubel to control my body. Just look at Jesse, he got a six-pack just from being controlled. I also want
That is
one.
true.
You know what?
Yubel,
Fuck it.
control me.
Yeah, use that super polymerization on me.
Get rid of the rest of this beer gut. Give me some titties. Goddamn. But like that's the thing, right? Like, that's what's so great about this series, and why it's so honored by fans, and why we decided to make this dumb gushing video. It's hitting 40 minutes, and I'm shocked it's actually at 40 minutes because it doesn't feel like it. But like we've grown up around such a unique time where some of us have witnessed quite literally the birth of the internet and evolving into what it is today. We've witnessed like the Pokemon boom. We've witnessed the Yu-Gi-Oh boom. We're now in an era where we're at instant gratification. That's what I kind of dub this era. It's like the instant gratification era, because if you don't have something right now, you can just scroll on to the next. And as much damage as I personally believe that's doing to society, it's also created something beautiful, because I would have never realized like how widespread the love for Yu-Gi-Oh is, without having access to something like Twitter, without access to something like TikTok, and seeing all the tributes that are popping in for Kazuki Takahashi. And I was the same way. I was blown away with like, if we still lived in the era like the early internet, for example, we would have never really, one, received news of his passing, other than when the final volume got printed over here. We would have never really received news of like how beloved the author really was until we would see like a fan letter back there. Now we have an era where people can put out like a tribute, like I showed at the beginning of this podcast. I'm sure the audio's got muted in like 17 different countries. It's fine. But that really showed me like scrolling through TikTok the day of his passing. My For You page was literally all Yu-Gi-Oh related. And I'm just like, this is beautiful. Like people making full on like AMV style shit on there to like the Duel Masters or the Duel Monsters theme. Like it's beautiful. But it's also fucking terrifying what it's doing. Because if you don't enjoy something, you drop it. And we see the effect of that like personally in other stuff that we cover here on the channel with like manga. If you're not instantly grabbed by that, it's on to the next. And I think even in today's standard, just tying this into Yu-Gi-Oh, I still think that Yu-Gi-Oh would have survived if it was printed today because it had a very, very interesting first arc. Season 0 was instantly gripping.
Yeah, like I've seen on Twitter like people just being like, "Oh my, I never realized how dark this series is." Like literally, the Pharaoh giving someone censor eyes, quite literally.
Still one of my favorite chapters. Like for that, there was no greater punishment. Like that's how fucking dark that series was at the beginning, and that would have gripped people. Like those first 2-3 volumes of Yu-Gi-Oh were such a departure for what the rest of it was, but it still managed to keep the like that card game aspect or that game aspect and everything that it did.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for when people see the biggest surprise in the manga involving Bakura and Pegasus.
Oh god, yeah. Like for that, there I don't think there is a better twist. And even if I don't agree with how they handled it here in the West, like they made something beautiful out of him surviving too in the Pyramid of Light movie. You know.
Yeah, and in GX in general when he showed up.
But like think for a second, we would have never got the Blue Eyes Jet Dragon card if that movie didn't exist.
Jet Dragon wasn't the normal anime as well.
And we would have never gotten Blue Eyes Shining were you talking about? Were you referring to Shining Dragon when you said Jet Dragon?
No.
No.
They straight up based it off of the movie art, though. Is what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what's so fucking unique about like in the manga, like he's dead, like gone. That's why I think like there's two different franchises and like that because the Pegasus bit wouldn't have made sense for GX. Obviously, because he's dead in the manga, so they made a whole other fucking arc for that. But yeah, like, oh my god, like Bakura
my word, what? Blue Eyes, what?
What am I?
Like how bad Shining is.
Other cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effect. You can only use each of the following effects of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon once per turn. You can only activate. Yeah.
We are literally playing an action figure as a trading card.
Yes.
Yes.
God. What the fuck? If cards on your field are destroyed by card, you special summon this at the start.
That's an official Yu-Gi-Oh card.
I hate it. I hate it so much. But
I hate it, but I love it.
You know, I never read the text for it. I just knew it finally got printed. That is batshit insane. What the fuck?
I think this card isn't even played in Blue Eyes decks because it's so shitty.
On one hand, I really do kind of want to play it just for fucking shits and giggles. On the other hand, I know I get murked.
Yeah. I'm going to murk you if I have to.
I mean, some Blue Eyes play it, the Dragon Link variant. Blue Eyes plays.
Oh, right.
That makes a
Yeah,
bit more sense, like with links, but holy shit.
Yeah.
What fresh fucking hell.
But also as well, I just gotta say this: without Kazuki Takahashi as well, we would never have a bridging to what it is today.
I agree and disagree with that. Because we still have had like Team 4 Star, which really made abridging super popular. And then you also had
Yeah,
like Purple Eyes What the Fuck and all these other like mini ones. But like arguably like Yu-Gi-Oh! The Abridged series did really popularize like
yeah, that's what I meant. Like, not as big as it was. I mean, we would have still, like I said, had Team Four Star, but I don't think they would have like been as committed if it wasn't for Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged.
yeah,
yeah.
they kind of did have
Yu-Gi-Oh!
like a like competition period there for uploads.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge inspired the Team Forster guys to start the Honorable series.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what I meant by without Yu-Gi-Oh! And Kazuka Takahashi, abridging wouldn't be as popular as it is, in my opinion, and be taken over by Let's Players, in the words of the abridged series.
I mean,
Not Let's Players.
for a while they did like rule the front page of YouTube though. Not so much anymore, unless you
Yeah.
watch a lot of them, like I do. But because I use a lot of Let's Plays to just like fucking pass out. Like let me put on like Alpha Rad Plus in the background and just drift off to like an 8-hour stream. Like no, you're right because I don't think we'd have people like Project Mouthwash who does Bleach Abridged or Yaro Shirin who does Damachi Abridged or even like something witty that does SAO abridged, right? Because without that era making it like super super popular and having seeing that you can compete with like top fucking trending YouTubers for a while there, and that you can make some sort of living out of your voice acting talents, for example, and what everything else in there. I don't think we would have seen that era that came post Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged. So you do have a very valid point there, and also I just want SAO Abridged to finish. That's all I want. Arguably better than SAO.
It's way better than SAO.
You know what? I've gotta see just what all the hubble is about with SAO Abridged.
Dude,
'Cause,
just sit down and watch your brain implode for 4 hours.
okay.
Just think about SAO, but the people who are writing it had their brain turned on.
Yeah, and, like put it in actual logical video game sense, or what that kind of game would turn into. I do agree, like SAO does some of that right because you will forever have like PKers in a MMO. It doesn't matter. So like turning that into like part of the story, great story writing because that would exist even if like
But, I think it was stated that SAO sold 100,000 units in the anime. A normal game, it would say they flopped. They did shit if they only sold 100,000 units in the first month.
oh yeah.
Can I ask a question quickly?
Yeah.
I am aware that apparently SAO's villain um, had been around so long that they forgot what their motivation was.
Yes.
Mhm.
Does the abridged have an actual motivation?
Mhm.
Yes, it has, and it's a great explanation. I love it.
Like I love that like Akihiko Kayaba's character was just there and he'd been stuck there for so long he forgot why he did it because it's a very real ADHD style thing. Like, what the fuck was I doing? Why was I plotting to trap 2000? Like, it's very like possible that it's a fucking mindset for that. That's an effect of being stuck in VR, being stuck in your project. I know, like even editing videos, right? I'll lose my train of thought for like what I was cutting. I'll have to go back to the beginning of the video and be like, okay, so I was cutting the non-accent voices out of this one. Got it. Like I'm using the Jimbo's Mild Adventures for an example here. So I'm just over here like, all right. But to lose the entire plot of your series though, that's very very hilariously bad writing covered up by like an actual mental trait. Um but like and there's a lot of that kind of writing in Sao. It gets better with each arc because you're watching quite literally a kid turn into like an adult and start using like actual writing techniques instead of writing this on like a fanfic website to start off, kind of like One did with One Punch Man. Because that's how Sao started. It was like a web novel. And
Okay.
so it's like
Kind of like One Punch Man's writing, even though like the art was terrible.
mm-hmm.
But with Sao, it was like this is really bad. It's like a train wreck.
I will be right
you
back
want to see
quickly.
that said train wreck.
Oh yeah, it very much is. And then you see like him come to his own as a writer, and then you see like especially like with the more recent stuff, like learning to tie plot together and make it make sense. But it's my guilty pleasure series. I know it's a fucking train wreck, but I still will eat it up like fucking bad TV. It's like my generation for some reason loves fucking reality TV. That's my reality TV.
This is your anime Wendy Williams. There you go.
It's pretty accurate too, and I hate it. Or this is my Love Island.
Oh my goodness, Love Island.
I mean, I had to tie a harem joke in there somehow. But no, like that's something like for like young authors, it's very, very hard to get up off your like that early writing mentality and admit that you fucked up as a writer. And that's something you saw a lot recently in like his author notes and like apologizing to like voice actresses and stuff for having to act out some of the scenes, and especially like the Alicization arc where it gets really dark. And A1, I know a lot of people have come out to defend them recently, but some of the shit they adapted did not exist in the light novel and made some of those scenes very much worse. Because you're not only having a essay scene, but you're also having it like panned up in a fucking camera angle for fan service. Yeah. But back to Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
As I'm talking about some of the darker scenes in Essay, I'm like, let's tie this back into Yu-Gi-Oh somehow.
All right, favorite like terrible boss monster.
Terrible boss monster.
Oh, favorite terrible boss monster.
I don't think he could be considered one, but Lava Golem.
Yeah.
More of removal.
I would say my favorite terrible boss monster would be Exodia Necros.
Oh Jesus fuck!
Oh, that's definitely a terrible one.
Remember Exodios, where like you have to remove all that shit from the play.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I just remember Exodia Necros because of when Kaiba dueled his father in the filler arc, and he was just like, I can't destroy it with Monsters Magic or Trap cards, and then he's like, oh wait, yes I can, just remove the cards from the graveyard.
Right, like that fucking that entire era of like Exodia support was weird. Oh.
Yeah, but to answer your question,
less of support and more of like spin-off, like
Yeah.
Exodia cards.
Yeah, has
Necros.
anything came out since like Exodios?
Yeah, there's been like more Exodia stuff. There's been like a Exodia monster that literally like supports like getting pieces.
Jesus fuck.
Yeah, but
it's so slow. Like, how is that gonna work?
You have to play a really shitty store deck for that.
Oh god.
But I would say my favorite shitty fucking boss monster would be the Armed Dragon Catapult Cannon.
Dude, that brings back memories.
That's a great monster, alright?
Like
It's-
my favorite. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah,
Danielle.
it's almost impossible to summon except with Ojamas, but it's great. I mean, just look at him. Just look at his fucking face. Yeah.
Look at him. He's doing his very best. Not only do you have to get fucking Arm Dragon level 7 out, which is enough of a pain in the ass in today's
Oh,
format,
God.
That's pretty easy. That's pretty easy.
and then you
almost
gotta
was
get VWXYZ. Jesus Christ.
Here's one of my favorite stupid ones about to come up. So before it like actually shows up because my internet sucks. The reason why I think this card is so ridiculous is because of its summoning requirement is pretty hard to pull off, and even its recursion is terrible because it can't recover the cards that you use in the graveyard. They have to be in the deck, which goes against the entire strategy of Magnet Warriors.
Oh God.
My Christ, what the fuck?
I've played the deck and I have fun with it, by the way. I love Magnet Warriors.
Oh, I'm not saying Magnet Warriors in themselves is like really terrible. I'm just saying this card is.
I played this card. I've played it.
What?
I know. You probably have. It's still bad.
I don't. It's great, alright? It's not bad. It's the best card in the game.
Speaking of Armed Dragon,
Oh,
I think one of my other favorites, Armed Dragon level 10.
Oh God. I stupidly ran that as a deck for the longest time.
Oh, I'm going to play them.
You play the dad deck? Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to play the Armed Dragons in the progression.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I'm pretty sure somebody is.
I'm going to, if not
What if there's 2 players playing the dad deck?
Oh God.
Oh my God. That is the first card I want to see on a I want to see banned.
Oh, I can't wait until we get to we can get to the 5Ds era so that I can play Stardust Dragon.
Oh,
I so
God.
hope you just don't pull him.
I hope I pull
so I
him.
can play the Black Wings. Oh, except their terrible boss monster, which is the Black Winged Dragon. It's so bad. It's not even a Wing Beast or a Black Wing card. Why was it ever printed?
It was printed because Crow became a main character.
But there's the thing, is the fact that barely anything to do with the archetype.
I can't wait till we have with the Black Wings in our series, because all of the good Black Wings are commons.
Yeah, they are, and that's what made that deck such bullshit.
Lizard is a rare and Black Whirlwind is a rare. And I think that's the one who halves the attack points of your of a monster of your
Hurricane
enemy.
Gale.
Gale, thank you, Luke.
That's a rare.
Yeah, those are the only 3 rare cards you need for the deck. Everything else is common.
Pretty much, or you could play it as a straight up deck, or you could just use a few of them like extenders.
Yeah. You're playing them, your ODM staples, which are not banned, and there you have your deck, which is almost as good as Limited was to that time.
I think the king of stupid boss monsters though was the Stardust Dragon decks. Because there were like 17 by the end of the fucking series.
Right.
Because you had the era where he couldn't use synchros with the assault mode bullshit, right? And that didn't make any sense in any format whatsoever. And then you had Shooting Star Dragon, who immediately got bought out by like Quasar Dragon, like 2 fucking weeks later.
Shooting Quasar Dragon, I genuinely 100% love that card.
Right, but it invalidated what was built up to be like the boss monster for a while, almost immediately.
Yeah, and as someone posted on a video where you say summons Shooting Quasar Dragon, screw the rules. I have the power of a god.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but you should play Shooting Quasar Dragon and Shooting Star Dragon, especially in the Cyber Dark deck, where you are summoning Shooting Star Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, how?
You are sending shooting Quasar Dragon to the graveyard, equip it to your fusion monster as your Cyber Dark. And if the equipped spell is destroyed, the effect activates, you can summon Shooting Star Dragon from your extra drag.
Holy moly!
I hate what I just fucking heard.
I do as well, but at the same time, at the
Cyber
same
Dark
time,
so fun.
give me
Weird
that.
that's legal. Well, I know it is.
Well, Shooting Star
Instant
Dragon
ban.
is good
Shooting Star
enough.
Dragon is getting an instant ban and emergency ban in the progression series.
The problem with Shooting Star Dragon is like what, one negate? And that's it? It can't even stop a kaiju, for God's sake.
Yeah, but still,
Oh yeah, I'm gonna enjoy using turtle.
Gamma Steel is this great kaiju, alright? It's the best.
God. Oh man, I'm just prepping for Ann Arbor to become even more of a cunt in our progression series now.
What? What? So, Vex, listen to me.
Here, listen.
Hey, listen!
I won't become a cunt, alright? I already am one.
You
But
can
I'm
become
going
a
to
bigger
evolve.
one.
I am not becoming a cunt. I'm becoming something else that threatens all of you shitty minds. I'm going to break all of you. The Shadow Realm will look like a purple realm after I'm done with all of you.
We're witnessing Ann Arbor's villain arc in real time. And we made him this.
You
We
wished
made
for
him.
me.
No.
You wished for the world. So God heard you press and decided to come down himself. So I came and beat all of you to a pulp.
Well, I'm glad you came. Makes one of us a can right now.
Well, I had
The vasectomy arc sucks for that. What's worse is having a partner that loves to send lewds and you're just like, I fucking hate my life right now. Because, like, I enjoy this. Put on a Dark Magician Girl cosplay and then maybe I'll just not care if I rip my stitches. I hate what I've become. I have consumed too much of the Mary Jane right now. I apologize. But I have to have a business call after this video, and I'm not looking forward to that.
Oh God.
A lot of it's prepping like the second channel. But Red ended up getting a PS5 before me, and I'm just seething in jealousy right now.
How did he get a PS5?
So we live in a state where there's a store called Meijer, right?
Right.
And he walked into the fucking electronics department and found it there in the display case.
Oh.
He just went in for groceries, walked out with a PS5.
My Steam Summer still in a nutshell.
Right? I'm here. I'm like, I want to be Cat, and I ended up buying that game, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and like 3 other games with my Steam credit. I'm just looking at my Steam credit now, so I'm like, I wish that was my bank account.
All I'm waiting for is like Digimon Survive.
Oh yeah.
And it won't come out until the 2090s.
Yeah, right after all my exams are finished. It's waiting for me.
And of
Just for me.
course, everyone's waiting for one particular day coming up in the week, Wednesday.
Oh yeah, Chainsaw Man Part 2. That's why I'm having the business call. Because, like, we gotta prep that second channel, and then we gotta also, like, figure out, like, what we're going to do for art styles and all that shit. And I'm just like, well, really don't feel like traveling all your way, so how about Discord? Because I don't think Stitches plus travel is a good mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the first video will just be like a virtual skit if we put a skit on it.
Yeah, with all the cute VTuber girls.
Yeah. No, like I want to just like throw up in like some Hollow Live stuff and just just completely steal content at this point.
Unless you just have Red look into your eyes as like you will talk about Chainsaw Man Part 2, and that's the skit.
Yeah, like this is Red forces Vex to do things arc. Because like right now I got like all the Fujimoto one shots just for like channel sake right now that we're gonna make content out of. Chainsaw Man Part 2, bring back for this channel like Black Clover. On the second channel you'll have One Piece, and then like we'll still be doing like 7,000 other fucking things at the same time. Jesus. It's the perfect time though, like being stuck at home. That's what's made like the modcast so doable for me. Like, and editing and remembering how much I hate editing every time I edit.
But going back to Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
I want to ask, what are some of your favorite archetypes to play?
Favorite archetypes for me would be Ancient Gear, Blue Eyes, and Crystal Beast.
I had a very fun time playing hero decks for a long time, and then like right before I retired from competitive play was like the end of the synchro era, like start of the XCs era, right? And then that's right when all of the like Aciers came out, and that was super fun. And I very much loved the shitty fucking Yubel hero deck that I ran to. I love Yubel as a card, but I know it's not really an archetype. But
you love Yubel everywhere. You would take all of the body.
Mm-hmm. I'm shocked that you're not playing Duel Links. That was like pretty much a big thing, especially Yubel deck.
I just did not like Duel Links. I tried it for a long time, on and off, but I just couldn't wrap my head around like how it played, because it was so vastly different. For the super monetization, like you think fucking Master Duel's bad, like that one is like no way.
No, it's great because you get craft like shit out of like the garbage you get.
Yeah, but like to be super competitive, it was like a money pit. It's the same way with like Master Duel too, but like you could like craft at a better pace than that. That's one thing I really do like about Duel Links over Master Duel. But
you want to just build something, just focus on like one deck at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
splitting out.
Like that. The other one that I really super played was also Crystal Beast. And that's because my mom fucking loved the deck, and I made it for her, trying to teach her the game. And then
she couldn't figure it out.
Well, she could for like that, but like at a competitive level, she couldn't. So I ended up just using her deck.
Okay.
Because it was like a really it was like when it was super competitive. And it was really fun. And then I used that deck to be like fucking 6 weeks in a row a tag tool champion there, and my deck just disappeared randomly. Yeah, they didn't like when I got really good with a deck at my locals. That's why I ended up switching to a different fucking card shop after that. Because one deck, I'm like, okay, maybe some kid just picked it up because everybody had like the. Remember the sleeves that always had like the sort of Yu-Gi-Oh cards on them, but they weren't Yu-Gi-Oh cards, so they could get away with it.
Yeah.
So everybody at my locals just had the one that looked like Dark Magician Girl, but with like gigantic like G cup titties. Because we were all
tradition.
As is tradition, we were all mature adults. I was like 16. So
I am an adult, yes, mature.
I definitely don't have a fucking hentai mat too. I was that degenerate.
I definitely don't have a Dark Magician mat right now as my mouse pad with giant G cup.
Yeah, right. My mouse pad is not 2B's giant squishy ass for a carpal tunnel rest. But I just figured maybe some kid picked it up thinking it was his deck box. No harm, no foul, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it just became a pattern. Like people's decks just kept getting stolen, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to bounce from this locals. Especially like
How else
when
did I get new decks? Except for
right,
stealing them.
right, and then
by using money, that's what I do.
right,
Hell no.
exactly.
I'm
Especially
beating
when you're a 16-year-old kid, you know, and you're spending like all of your spare money on the cards trying to get it, and then you look in the display case and you see like, oh, Rainbow Dragon is like $60 to replace for this deck now, and then like obviously the 10s came out, and I'm like, well, I can just build it back up real easily. But at that point, like everybody was running Crystal Beast, so there's wasn't a good deck anymore because it's like going up against itself. So yeah, that kind of ruined like that early experience for tournament going, for sure. I'm sure it's still a very prevalent thing in the scene, but I figure it's a lot more stealthy now than just walking off with somebody's entire fucking coffin case.
If somebody does that to me, like they're getting the 10-hit combo, I'm sorry, they're getting kinged out here.
Yeah, we're not only are you never coming back, I'm never coming back to this tournament spot because I'm breaking your jaw. They eventually found out who was doing it. It was the owner's son, and just selling them to his dad, and then just fucking doing it. It was a whole thing. Yeah.
Wow, just literal cocksuckers.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I can make money off of this person's deck. Hey, son, you won't go to jail. I will if I steal it, but you go take that, and I'll give you like all the good cards in the shop. Yeah, shit like that going on. Gotta love it. So not shocked that story didn't last much longer after that came out.
Yeah.
What other archetypes did you guys enjoy playing?
I really enjoy Shaddoll. Like that is one of my favorites.
Oh, another one that I can't believe I forgotten that I even played this for a really, really long time. Six Samurai.
Ooh. Yeah, that one was really fun for a good long while.
Yeah, like legendary Six Samurai Shien.
God. Shit was
what
so...
was everybody's like first deck?
I made a Sea Serpent, like, Duel from the Deep style deck was one of my first ones. Because I liked all the fishies and everything at that point.
Okay, same, because I had like the legendary ocean like structure deck. I forgot what the name of it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think my first deck, because I was around in the era that Fex was, because that we're roughly the same age, so we grew up in that era where Yu-Gi-Oh first came out in the West. So I distinctly remember, like my first exposure to Yu-Gi-Oh was a commercial for it, where where a program was going to play the first 5 episodes back to back on one day, and it was just the Pharaoh going, "Fireball attack! It's time to duel." And I distinctly remember it going, one action-packed series, 5 episodes back to back. Like that commercial is ingrained into my memory.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think my first was just basically just a random mishmash of cards that got stolen when I was in school. Because it got stolen when I was in school, doing that to an autistic kid pretty much meant a lot of screaming and wailing. But I think my first proper deck was probably Crystal Beast / Black Wings.
I'm trying to think, like, your era of Crystal Beast would have been probably, like, right when, like, the 10s were coming out, and, like...
Yeah.
Because you guys got your releases a little bit skewed on what we got, even. back
Yeah.
then. Now it's like a more 1-to-1 for any of the TCG. But I only know because I have friends like that traveled abroad for like releases too because they wanted to collect it, and like it was like 3 months for some fucking booster packs even. And then like the Black Wings is when it got more like a 1-to-1, so you were getting it like right as they were releasing, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've still got like the tins that I bought. Like I've got the one for Sapphire Pegasus.
Yeah, I still have like literally a 150-pound crate full of tins. Um, just of like all of my childhood collection. I've slowly been, as I can afford it, it's been like my project, and it's like at least penny sleeving and foldering them all by like release, which is a very costly project. I found out because I forgot how many fucking cards I had. Uh, but like just to get them out of those disgusting tins that have been like through like storage units and inside like my closet and buried in the back of a fucking dark room when I was a kid, you know? So like I found out one, those tins aren't really rust resistant.
No,
So
they aren't.
like I have some from like the very early like Yu-Gi-Oh era, like the Summon Skull tin, for example, that I had to like literally pry open with a fucking pry bar because it was just in the bottom of a box in the back of a storage unit that wasn't properly climate controlled, even though I pay for climate control.
Oh, don't you just love that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I just love
When they store your shit, then they don't do their job properly.
right.
So it
I'm
dry
paying you.
rots or whatever else.
Yeah, I'm like cool, great. I'm destroying like something I could probably flip for like $200 on eBay, but whatever. Pry the fucker open. Cards are in great condition still. It's just the tin's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've just
I
been
should
going through
actually
that.
get me one of those plastic bins. You know, the ones that are designed for to hold the cards and whatnot. And then give me some damn sleeves.
Yeah. I guess it just comes with like any cheap metal, a cheap mass-produced metal. You know, it's eventually going to give up to the elements. Like you look at time capsules, for example, that were just, like some kid's fucking lunchbox, and you see how like it falls to the ages over time. So I wasn't expecting them to last forever, but I was expecting them to be better taken care of when I'm paying for something like that. But it's no big sweat off my back as long as the cards are still in good condition. I still have my childhood. But like penny sleeving, very cost effective if you want to preserve your collection. Buying individual binders per the booster pack was probably the stupidest fucking idea I ever had. No matter what, I'm still going to end up buying like individual binders for them all, but it's like going through like how many different versions of a reprint there were, for example, for like Legend of Blue Eyes. Especially like you have ones that have extra cards in them, and then the numbers are off, and you're going through like 000, 001, and then that 001 doesn't line up with the fucking card list.
So, why does this have a grasshopper on this? This is weird.
I forgot how fucking overly reprinted that booster pack was when I started the project, though. And it's still reprinted to this fucking day, is what's so baffling. And you go back and like having played through the progression series, and you're like, why would anybody want this reprinted in 2020 fucking 2?
I know. I know.
For some formats, I get. I don't know.
Oh my god, it's so dumb. And I just started Spagic Ruler for the project. And I'm like, right, I'm gonna have to like remind myself mentally like these are the same pack code because of the MRL and the SRL. So going through like 350,000 cards, give or take, and just going through that like, okay, these are all MRL/SRL in this pile. This is I created my own fucking hell.
Everyone has their own personal hell, and you found yours.
I really did. The whole purpose behind it was like to get them out of those tins and to like go back through and kind of preserve that, pass it down and maybe give it to somebody down the road who wants to get into Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Because I'm not going to carry everything with me forever, especially like if I emigrate. I'm not going to fucking take 17,000 boxes that I've got stored aside. So I've been decluttering while I've been off. And I just like remembered I had started that project during the holiday while I was off with COVID. And I just kind of continued it while I did that. And I'm just debating, like, I have all of these, like, duplicates, right? And cards I'll never fucking touch. Let's be real, we all have that pile, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can make, like, booster packs to give out for Halloween, I could do something like that. I could do,
That would be way too much work for me.
You could basically make like just a 40 card makeshift deck and sell it at a yard sale or something.
Yeah, I could do stuff like that. That's kind of what I was thinking of doing, right? But not in that regard. But during the like when we've got affiliate and I started using, a little bit of the ad revenue we would get from Twitch to kind of put back into the channel. I bought like booster packs, like random like assortments of people's collections. I was thinking of doing something similar to that and just selling them on eBay for like 10, 15 bucks, because I have quite literally the size of my fucking desk up to my monitors full of like tins that just are sitting there full of duplicates from just the first three booster packs alone. And I'm just like, there's no way in hell I'm taking all this with me if I go to the UK or to Canada or wherever I immigrate to, if this country continues to get worse politically.
It will get worse. I'm calling it now.
Oh, I'm foreseeing it very much so. At least Biden did something to protect abortion. That's great, but I've had very, very real conversations, like heart-to-heart conversations with a lot of my queer friends in particular, and just like getting their mental state, if that kind of shit would overcome or be overturned by the Supreme Court. And I thought I was fucking terrified for myself, but like some of them living in like Texas or Florida, where it's a lot worse politically.
Wait, people live in Texas? Isn't it like just a desert and idiots living there?
That describes like 75% of the South, but no, like Texas is like a media capital for tech and shit. And that's why they went there, is they wanted to get into like the tech industry or some form of animation.
Everything in Death Valley.
And
coast over there.
Well, there is some hope for the UK. We don't have a clown as prime minister anymore.
No, but we might have one here again. That's what I'm most terrified.
Yeah, and I could just say this now. Now that he's no longer prime minister, he can spend all day at Peppa Pig World.
God, Boris Johnson was such a shithead just watching him.
I thought Trump was stupid, but he really gave him a run for his money.
Boris Johnson took the cake when he was like, "I've lost my place in I've lost what I was going to say in this speech. I'll just talk about Peppa Pig."
He at least had a train of thought. That's more than I can say for Biden sometimes.
This is what happens if you choose a fucking senile old man as your president.
Yeah, right? Like, they're in all reality, whether it's fiction or, like, real life, we need to put a fucking age limit on what a politician is. We don't need a 75-year-old person who was around to see, like, the turn of the fucking century in power, like, at all. Like,
no, we don't. We need someone who understands the people who are going to make your fucking future.
Right.
And you know what YouTube is.
You've just asked the... Go ahead.
Right. I'm not trying to be ageist or anything, but at the same time, like they need to go because I feel like at this point they obviously don't give a shit, and they're just there just to collect checks for like their grandchildren. You know, when they
Right.
finally go off to
It,
meet
it,
their
Yeah,
mate.
it's
yeah.
Yeah.
You're very very much spot on. Like you see it now. Like they're just there collecting checks, not just from being a seated senator or fucking member of the House, but they're sitting there collecting them from like this oil company, this pharmaceutical company, this company here. To and I respect the hustle, that you want to sit there and put your kids and your grandkids through fucking school and everything, but you don't understand the modern world. You don't understand the plight that is going to affect your grandkids or your grandkids down the line. Whereas somebody from like millennial down to Gen Z very much does. We'll give Gen X, like the latter half of Gen X, as the cutoff here for this hypothetical. They understand what the world is, how we need a very very much an overhaul of our media companies right now, where we have like 5 fucking studios producing every piece of content to tie it into the channel. We have, people like Google and YouTube shooting myself in the dick here, and fucking Amazon controlling the vast majority of curated content in the forms of YouTube and Twitch, where nothing else can thrive. Look back to like we had my video or something that I was using for a backup channel where I just archived it in our very 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 bright infancy during the COPPA stuff, right? And that turned out to be a big nothing burger for a lot of things. You see some effects of it where there's, no comments allowed on videos geared towards kids, limited ad revenue, but like for the most part, that didn't really affect the daily creator. But at the time, I was using another platform as like an archive instead of having it all like on a hard drive because I was using my hard drives, like all my external drives for school.
Mm-hmm.
But because Google can afford to run into the red for fucking ever, it
Yeah,
can drive
didn't
all
they?
those. It can run every other
Yeah,
platform out of the fucking world.
yeah, didn't YouTube only make red numbers for the first few years Google bought it?
It's very much still a negative, a net negative for Google, but having that brand recognition for YouTube is why they keep it. Unlike a lot of their products, where they'll buy up like X project and just shutter it 2 years later, or they'll have like 17 different platforms that they'll phase out and make new apps for because that's what they do. Like a Google Stadia now just being an autopilot, and it was touted for like a massive marketing campaign to be like the future of gaming. YouTube
Until they
literally gave me a
forgot.
unit.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say until they forgot. Oh yeah, like people's like internet infrastructure is like shit. So how are they gonna play this? And also, why are we charging full price for games that people already own? Could have just had
Exactly.
a rental Could have had it like a rental like thing like
GeForce Now, for example.
Xbox and yeah.
Or Game Pass or something like that. Fucking the new PlayStation Now is phenomenal for gaming, but you have that, and it's the same. It's a very very similar structure in Japan, right? Because you have the big three pushing that, and just now you're getting a lot of like independent content being put out there and being successful. Look at Solo Leveling, for example, and getting a big studio like A1 producing the anime. And that is one of the most famous self-published works.
Yes.
I hate that A1's getting it because it's going to be dog ass, but
Well, the webcomic itself it isn't that good, to be honest.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
like,
that could be a whole discussion of
all
itself,
right,
like the boom booming popularity of independent series, like for example as well, like Oni-chan is done for. That's getting an anime adaptation as well.
yeah, and fucking like I think it started with that. As much as I hate to use it as an example again, but like I think it really started like with the popularity of SAO because it was a self-published work for the longest time, being a web novel. and One Punch Man coming out of that same era. Like those two taking off really got that. And now we have like shit like Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss being massive franchise successes before like one of them's even technically out yet. You know, you see the rabid fan base coming out of something like that because you can see that there's passion in that. Versus like I gotta touch the same drawing up 7,000 times before editor Chan will actually let me post it. It's very annoying the way that the super polished look that we're getting from like that side of Japan now, where you can tell, like even the biggest one I gave was like early My Hero to like the middle of My Hero. You can see how it started being like super digitally retouched because they wanted everything to be really flashy. That's just very much an unfortunate side effect of that. But for why I brought that up is like we very much are seeing that in the animation industry too, and the massive control of the media. Because here in America we have Funimation that's absorbed into Crunchyroll now.
Yeah.
And we
A
have
monopoly, how everyone always wanted.
and we have
I never wanted this.
we have High Dive for a streaming platform that does more like the Kill kind of stuff, you know, Studio Trigger, yada yada, all that kind of dubbing. Don Machi's on there uncensored. Interspecies Reviewers, when it was on there, was going to be adapted over there. I don't know if anything ever came of that. And then that's really it. Because you have Sony owning one side and Warner Brothers owning the other in America. When you break it down to its core aspects, that's kind of how it is. Two massive conglomerates owning every aspect of animation dubbing in the US. And you really got to stop and think like now you're rooting for what brand is going to get your project, right? Because we see like in Japan, we're not going to see a censored version of Chainsaw Man. But what say if Funimation gets it here?
Oh yeah, probably gonna get. It's probably gonna. It's either gonna go one of two ways. It's gonna be that the CEO of Funimation, like the CEO of Mappa, is a massive fan of Chainsaw Man and doesn't want it censored, or it's gonna get heavily censored.
But here's the thing, like that's also the studio that dubbed Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt, which is one of the most foul-mouthed, disgusting shows to come out of that era. But that's also very much a different era that came out of too.
Yeah, I feel like it might go. Yeah, it might very much well go the route of like Funimation just grabs Chainsaw Man without really looking into it. Kind of what they did with Interspecies Reviewers.
Which that part I don't get because they also did like Mermaid, like what was it, Drive or Dive? It was Drive, Mermaid Drive, which is one of the most raunchiest things I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly.
Like, they've done that, but then they're like, "Oh, this is so wrong." It's like, hypocrite.
Well, I think it also came out of the, and we're far enough in to have this discussion. I think it also comes into like the very real, like at least here in the West, how scrutinized sex work is, and it ties a lot into that. And a lot of the, I would guess, remember the Million Mother March bullshit that kind of drove into like South Park, and they were making fun of it. I think we kind of had a blowback from like the more conservative side of America in that I don't want the little Jimmy watching an anime about sex work.
Then
Like,
don't
yes.
don't let Jimmy watch it.
Exactly.
That's your job.
You are the
Not
fucking
mine.
parent. You are the fucking parent to your fucking snot-nosed little crotch goblin. Do
Yeah,
your
but
job.
Then he would have to when he have to share time with the child, and he doesn't want to share time with the child.
Exactly.
That's right. I have to go to the strip club tonight. I can't spend time with Timmy.
Yeah, right. I gotta be over here getting twerked on by LaQuisha here while I'm sliding $1 bills down her G-string. But your mommy can be home, right? Mommy's over there getting dicked down by another senator. I mean, definitely not using real world. I need to stop.
Wow.
But like, no, it's that's the thing. Like, the absent parents have really ruined what this has become, and now that we have that very real reality, I'm wondering, like, now that we're in a more child-friendly era of Yu-Gi-Oh, will we ever see a darker Yu-Gi-Oh again? Will we ever see like a more risque one? Because we already see how censored the card game is here, art-wise, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it with rains, we literally saw children getting tortured and electrocuted with rains just the last season.
Well, here's the thing: in 5Ds, that happened.
Yeah, in
Right.
rains it also happened.
Right.
Uh,
But now we've really geared more towards like the younger audience with like sevens and the Rush duel.
Yeah, but we also
I think.
went away from the card game itself, where
Yeah.
they use different cards nowadays in that.
Yeah. I think Go Rush is supposed to be a lot more serious. I don't know.
I think it's pretty much the same. Like, Rush format is like
No,
centered
yeah,
around, like,
I mean, like,
early
more.
kids and whatnot.
Yeah, I was just meaning more story wise.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And see, we are just now getting sevens here in America, and sourcing Go Rush has proved to be not easy. Because I wanted to like have a little insight into it, and the only place I could find it was like those websites that give you like virtual aids. So I'm like, not getting that on the computer before this. I could have pulled it up on my phone, but that's just like lazy me, last seconding recording. But it's kind of the thing. Like, I'm very concerned about the future of animation being like heavily dictated this way, and in an era where like Karen Online can dictate whether a fucking studio can adapt and finish it.
Yeah, and you know what the worst thing is? We, Europe, have to suffer because of you, because everything is just made for the American mainstream.
Yeah,
So I give you the fault for you guys ruining my series.
I'm very sorry for that. Like, I'm very much for like telling whatever story you want to tell within reason.
Yeah.
There are lines that have been crossed in media, and I question how they have existed. I still don't think the Human Centipede should have been a piece of cinema. But
Oh God.
like, it's a story that the creator wanted to tell, and that was their right as a creator. There's also very much worse shit than Human Centipede that I've seen in cinema.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm just using that as like a baseline example.
Like, there's. Have you seen what Peter Jackson was doing before Lord of the Rings?
I've seen some of his work from before Lord of the Rings. I've also seen some questionable B movies that he's made, and I've also seen questionable B movies that Kevin Smith has made that weren't like Clerks. I think maybe Zangetsu would be the only other person that would know what I'm referencing here.
You talking about, like, did he work on that movie about the guy being turned into a walrus?
Yep. Yep, that's exactly what I'm referencing, Tusk.
Just asking. I'm just not going to ask.
You don't.
I'm not gonna ask.
You don't want to know.
I feel like we've gone way off topic.
But
yeah,
like,
everyone should watch Kung Fury.
but like that's the kind of like stuff that I've seen, and I want to see the stories that the authors want to tell be told. With Yu-Gi-Oh, we don't even have a current running manga that isn't like a side story, right?
Yeah.
For the first time in really a lot of Shonen Jump history. So now, in the passing of Kazuki Takahashi, I wonder if we're going to see more side stories out to honor him. Are we going to see like we never got a V-Reigns, we never got a shit, the other one. I always forget it. The one after Zexal, but not V-Reigns.
Arc
Arc 5, yeah. Arc V.
Yeah, I think we did get an Arc V one.
And what, the manga? We did.
We did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did.
Oh.
I
missed getting that then.
It wasn't about different dimensions, but about time travel.
I completely missed that one. So since Vrains, we haven't had a adaptation of some sort of the current ongoing Yu-Gi-Oh story. Now we have them about like actual like monsters, which is fucking adorable, you know. But it's something that I would very much like to see more of now in his passing. But I would also like to see it done tastefully, you know.
Yeah,
I don't want it to turn into like another milked, franchise that we see so often.
yeah. Like very much like to see like just a single one shot follow up from the epilogue scene in 5Ds of like what you say, because the only characters that we didn't see from the epilogue of 5Ds were when they're all grown up is you say. So I'd like to know what he was getting up to.
Yeah, and that's something that we could get, and it'd be tasteful, and it could be something that we could do, um, very relatively easily, I would assume. But the question is, will we get that now, or is this kind of the end of Yu-Gi-Oh as we wrap this podcast up? Because
I don't think.
I
this
don't
will
think
be the
you.
end.
I don't think Hugo will die. It's like when people say that about things like, oh, will such and such die just because the creator is like I don't think it will die, because I mean look at say Star Trek or James Bond. They're still around even though the original creators have passed.
really around anymore, or are we
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just making the joke, like it's diverged so much from any semblance of the source material at this point. It's very much like dude bro action for dude bro action. And I love that about it. I fucking love the James Bond franchise. But there comes a time where like you need to let something sit for a while.
Yeah, yeah, or here's the thing as well. Like Doctor Who, that's still around.
Yeah.
It did sit for a while, but it came back, and even back then, when it first went off the air, the creator died a few years ago.
Yeah. And the other reason why I said is James Bond's still around is because like at the end of the last movie, spoilers, he dies.
Oh no! Who dies?
James
Oh, I
Bond.
don't listen.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Right. But like that's the like the thing, like that's what's so curious about that franchise in particular. And that could be a whole other fucking topic for a whole other video. But they say they're reimagining it now. Like it's a title, 007 is a title, pass it on. Anyway, but that's a very real conversation you have to have at the end of any author's life. Is like, will this continue? Will we see it can be shelved out of respect? Will we see, some aspects of it carry on, some aspects of it die? We know the fucking card game's never going to die. Like that's just point blank how it's going to be. Like as long as the companies that print them in the various countries can print them, they're going to continue to milk that because it's a printing press for them. But I think maybe we'll see like the end of the manga itself, like no more stories told that way, and just original anime adaptations possibly. Or we could see like one shots about various different duel monsters, like we're seeing with the one. Who knows? With something like Yu-Gi-Oh, it's so hard to like grow a path, and see where it's going to progress because each series has been so vastly different from the last that it's one of those that can transcend time, and it very honestly he's poked fun at that fact. So I'm just curious where we're going to go from here because I want to see maybe one series geared more towards the adult fans and one series geared more towards like the kids. Like you have the rush stuff for the kids. Make one for us Yugi boomers. But it's going to be really hard to kind of tell until we see like more than like our thoughts and prayers tweets from the companies that are in charge of it, which is, your way to say like we want to honor him. But it's also like we want to know what the status is too, and it'll come in time. Obviously, they will probably have to meet with like the estate and figure out if there was anything prep for a new series, or was there anything prep for like new art before they decide where to go from here? And when we get to that point, I think is when we'll have that really set in, like where we go from here as fans, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think a death has hit me this much since Stanley, and in like the realms of fiction.
No, in all honesty, this is probably like like I said before the podcast. Like this is probably like the one where I was like, no, he's not. No.
Right. Like I was that way.
May I just say how fucked up it is that you are ranking the death of other people?
We're not.
You literally just did, Luke, so shut up.
I mean, I'm kind of guilty of that too here, but like I think like the three that hit me the hardest was Chester Bennington, Stanley, and now Kazuki Takahashi, because they were three cornerstones of my childhood, and like that's something that a lot of people don't like to take into consideration when they do things like this. That's why I wanted to let this sit so we could come in here with at least some semblance of sanity instead of milking it. Like I said before, before everything, like there's a lot to take in when something that's been with you for so long is gone.
Yeah.
And I know it's rambly, but that's why. And I think that's why this was the best cast to have for this kind of an episode, because we all grew up and we've all participated. We've all kind of been a part of this journey for quite literally 20 plus years at this point.
Yeah.
So I guess wrapping it up here, this is not going to be a monetized video unless Studio Dice claims the clip I showed at the beginning. So just putting that out there. Number two, like the boss battle tier list will continue next week. We just want to pay our respects this week. And kind of get back on track mentally before we do something like that. Plus, schedule wise, it didn't really align with anybody today. And then the last one for me is, don't dictate how your creators feel right now. We all mourn in vastly different ways. And especially given like the stuff that got tweeted at Lil Karibo, I feel very dirty even making something like this today, but it's also a necessary part for our channel, having been such in tune with this franchise, while also being able to grieve in our own way by honoring like what this franchise has meant to us. I just tap my desk a little hard there, and kind of get our thoughts out there, kind of talk about like everything about this series that we possibly could while our brains ran at like super speed today. Anybody else got some final thoughts here?
I'll just say, rest in peace, Kazuki Takahashi. Thank you for giving us such joy, and let's hope that your legacy will continue on. And that's all I've got to say. And I am gonna bail out for now.
All right.
Alrighty.
I guess that's peace, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Peace.